Asmongold is wrong on 1.13, and it shows me getting fired by Donald Trump, who's also Kale Foss. Okay, so this is gonna be great.
Yo guys, Punk Rider with another video. So this video is on a topic that's honestly been really bothering me a lot lately. I keep thinking about it, and
Okay.
there's been a little bit of talk about it in the community, but I feel like I'd make my rebuttal here to some of the mainstream content creators and their take on it.
Okay.
So it's the idea of post Naxx content or patch 1.13, Classic Plus.
You watch one Asmongold reacts video, boom, that's it. That's all it takes. It's like AIDS.
Those are the three names that
Except
I've
it's better.
Seen used to describe it. It's kind of been moving around. You know, it's been a hot topic for the last, I'd say, couple weeks.
Okay.
But I don't think it's been hot enough. Like, there needs to be more exposure on this. And I feel like the only voice that we're hearing is Asmongold. Like, at the end of the day, he's become like almost a monolith in the community.
Thank you. That's
I feel
great.
like his take it was really, really bad. Like, his initial take on this was really, really bad. At least from my perspective.
Well, what is it?
He's got such a huge fan base that it feels almost like he alone can sort of like dictate the way people are thinking about something.
It's great.
Which, you know, is a bit annoying to me. So I'm just gonna, you know, try to get my voice heard on this topic. Even though I've already made a video on this, I made a video that was more based on the dream of it.
Just a minute, let me read some donations. Let's see. Blizzard streamers, and I was gonna look away from Snowfight. This guy fucking hates you. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people that fucking hate me, T-Ducks. Thanks so much for $5. All I need to do is see usforums.blizzard.com. I already know someone's mad. Thanks for the $5. Appreciate that. Can you use the good add-ons for your bars and background on? Well, I am using the good add-ons right now. I think so. I like them a lot. Cheese Puffs, thank you very much for the gifted sub to Just Give Me a Sub Lul. Affiliate, thank you very much for 300 bits. I appreciate that too. Thank you, thank you. Okay, I got everybody else. Thank you guys so much. All right, let's see if he's going to be able to get to what he's talking about.
It was more sort of like flashy and less about the substance of how it can be implemented from a technical perspective.
Okay.
So here I'm gonna lay down some more arguments. So the first video that started this whole thing was, well, Tips Out made a video on it a while ago. It was kind of meh. You know, he wasn't really getting into it too deeply, and the video wasn't specifically on that. It was like, what are the, like, after Naxx, like, what are the different possibilities? And he had just slightly mentioned 1.13, and then Asmongold reacted to it, and I don't think he gave 1.13 a fair shot, to be honest. You know, and he did like a straw poll and all this stuff, and his whole community obviously all backed him up. Well, it was pretty competitive, but it was pretty much like, yeah, let's all go TBC. And, you know,
well, that's not my opinion. Like, yeah, I think they should do TBC instead of 1.3. Like, that has been my stance. It's a better and smarter decision to do TBC instead of 1.3. Okay?
Coming from my perspective, somebody who I've said this a million times, so many times in my videos, that TBC was my favorite expansion. It still is.
Okay.
But honestly,
good. Right.
We can do better than that. I really feel like we can do better than TBC. Like, TBC has so many elements that just ruin the game. There's some.
Can we do better? Can Blizzard do better? Can Blizzard that made Vanilla WoW do better? Can Blizzard that made BFA do better than TBC? I don't know. Like, that's the question, right? Because those are the same people. I mean, it makes me a little bit nervous about that, honestly.
Some really big issues in TBC that really strayed away from what made Classic great. And flying mounts are probably the biggest one. So
this is
personally,
an Outland was
I would honestly have no issue skipping TBC entirely and just making Classic 2.0. Like, experiencing all of Classic and then moving on to new content releases for Classic. A lot of people are pretty skeptic when it comes to this sort of stuff. You know, I was watching.
Like, what do you do with that? Do you just make the gear afterwards, like, a lot better than the Naxx content gear? Like, how do you handle gear? because this is the same problem that retail WoW has, where you have like these exponential jumps. And this is what was happening in Wrath of the Lich King. Whenever, you would get 10 points of armor penetration and 10 points of critical strike rating at item level 200, it would give you this much DPS. But whenever you were doing it at item level 260 in like ICC 25 gear, then it would give you 100 DPS. So I don't understand. Like, what is the meta here? Like, are we talking tier 4 and tier 5 in classic WoW or what? Because if you do that, you're going to run into the problem of power growth. And that's why they have the expansions in a way, is so they can reset the power growth of secondary stats.
The initial video, there was Asmongold's reaction here, and then there was another video where he was on his stream talking to S-Fan about it, and immediately the first thing that everyone says all the time, anyone who's played classic WoW, is power creep. That's the first thing that people go to. And
okay,
I don't think this is an issue. People are always saying how, oh, the gear from Molten Core all the way to Naxx, like the power creep is insane. If we power creeped even further than that, like it would break the entire game. First of all, that's not true.
I guess this guy never played Mists of Pandaria or Legion or WoD. Like, what are you talking about? Like, okay, let's just keep going.
The reason why power creep is so significant is because gear was so badly itemized in Molten Core and Blackwing Lair for the most part. The only good loot in Blackwing Lair is like a couple little off pieces here and there, and then all the loot off Nefarian. Like, the loot is terrible. So you're pretty much going from like, I don't have hit cap and I have to use blue items to get hit cap, to gear that has agility, strength, stamina, crit, hit.
That's already been disproven in the later expansions. Like, the gear was finally itemized in Emerald Nightmare because people had the gear from Mythic Plus that they had the specific stats for. Then Nighthold had much more better optimized gear. And then did you compare Nighthold DPS to Antorus DPS? It's night and day. It's completely different. The idea that power creep in vanilla didn't happen because of some sort of like bullshit stat issue is partially true, but that won't fix the problem. Just thinking that because the things were badly itemized is the only issue is completely untrue.
Like the whole 9 yards, everything that you need on it, and then going to tier 3, which is perfectly itemized. But at the end of the day, you're not, once you hit that Naxx threshold, like you're there. Like that's the top end gear, and if you were to surpass it a little bit, it wouldn't be that much of a difference. It wouldn't be the same sort of power jump that you'd have from going from MC gear to AQ40 Naxx gear. And at the end of the day, everyone who's doing Naxx, all the Fury Warriors and stuff, they're all using tier 2.5 anyways. So like they don't even really have much gear in Naxx available for them.
What does this have to do with post-Naxx content?
And here's another thing. The way crit and hit works in vanilla is it's always 1%, right? So you get 1% hit or 1% crit, or 2% crit or 2% hit. So like it's not like hit rating and crit rating where it's just going to jump and then you're going to get even higher. Like you could very easily, going post-Naxx content, maintain the crit and hit at the same level and just slightly increase the power that you get from base stats or power that you get from, just the attack power.
So that point that he made there actually is a good point, and it's true. So what he's saying is that in Burning Crusade, they changed hit rating percentages and crit rating percentages into a flat value. Now, this is also assuming that if they introduce post-Naxx content in Classic WoW, they don't actually just take it up to 3 and 4%, which is something that they could do, right? And again, this is why I'm nervous about opening that door, because yes, you're right. In a perfect world, I think that Blizzard could make good post-Naxx content, but BFA proves to me that we are not living in a perfect world. So I do think that it does make it easier for them to develop post-Naxx content if they do keep to the 1 and 2 and maybe 3% crit rating and hit rating things that they have on vanilla WoW gear. So he is actually right in this point that it does at least slightly offset the amount of power creep that we have, because it's not growing at the same type of level as the primary stats are, like strength and stamina on the gear.
increase or spell power increase, which yeah, it scales with the crit significantly well, but it's not going to be that game breaking. And you could also maybe even do it relatively in a more like horizontal sense in a way, where I think this is what they did in old school RuneScape, where they actually, like, all the new content that they've been releasing is the same item level, I guess you could say, quote unquote, item level power as the older content. So I think it's totally feasible. And another thing that can be done is you can explore set bonuses, and you can maybe make sets for, you know, different specs. You can make a set for enhancement shamans or elemental shamans and help make something viable that isn't, or at least slightly more viable. You know, we can explore new territory. You can keep the gear the same item level.
So what he's saying basically is to add new sets that give the underrepresented specs like enhancement shamans, moonkins, and let's say arms warriors different abilities that they have that makes them more viable in raiding. The issue with that is, like, obviously you're going to then disrupt the balance of PvP, you disrupt the balance of the entire game. Or not really the entire game, but mostly also PvP, because those two things are interconnected, and you get your PvP gear from doing PvE. So I think Blizzard really needs to be careful about doing something like that, because they could indirectly affect PvP in a way that they wouldn't want to. So Classic WoW is fundamentally unbalanced. Yes, that's true. But I don't think the solution to creating the fundamental or fixing the fundamental imbalance is to try to balance it, because Blizzard has spent 10 years trying to balance PvP, and we still have overpowered comps and bullshit as well. So unless you want to have Classic basically just mirror the buff and nerf cycle that retail WoW has, you're better off just sticking with what we already have. Like, everybody wants Classic WoW, let's just have everybody get Classic WoW. I don't really see how this is hard to understand.
Or same range as Naxx, maybe like slightly better, to where it's like almost negligible, and just sort of add more fun elements, like make new trinkets that do cooler things, or you know, just little things that just create incentive to want to go there. Spice things up a little bit. It doesn't have to always be the way Blizzard always does it, where it's like, oh, the new content's out, okay, everything is now relevant in the previous patches. And vanilla has never really played out like that. Like, when Blackwing Lair comes out, like, there's still tons of gear in Molten Core that you want to get. There's Band of Valkyria. There's, you know, a bunch of items in Molten Core that are still fully viable. When you're doing,
big crit right there,
you know, AQ40, you're still going to Blackwing Lair. You still want Neltharion's Tear. There's also kind of not enough loot in general available for the whole raid. It takes forever to gear out your whole raid while raiding, you know, consistently for months. So adding in more horizontal content just creates more incentive to just, okay, we're going to do Naxx, we're going to do Hydral, we're going to do whatever other, Uldum, let's say. And we're just going to do all three of those raids every week, and eventually we'll get everyone geared out. So the way the new game plays is, the moment that new item level or that new raid patch hits, everything from the old dungeon is like irrelevant. There's no point. It's such a huge gap in item.
He's right. I want to make one thing clear here, because I think that he's arguing against something that I'm not saying. He's arguing, at least in my mind, for having this content versus not having the content. Whereas in my mind, I think that the argument should be, should we have this content or Burning Crusade? In which I think they should do Burning Crusade first. Not instead, but I think they should get Naxx out, see what the community wants, and then go from there. I am extremely nervous about Blizzard developing new content for Classic, because it's a door, it's like a Pandora's box, that as soon as the door is opened, now suddenly everything can be potentially fucked up. So I'm very, very concerned about that. And he is right about a lot of these points. I do agree with them. And honestly, like, he does have good insight, but I'm waiting for the point where he's giving a rebuttal to me saying that BC would be better than post-Naxx content, which is, that's the main point that I'm making. Everything else I don't really care about.
Level between the two, that there's no reason to go back there. So at the end of the day, horizontal or like slightly buffed gear makes sense in a vanilla context. And the next thing that I've been hearing is, or the next level of almost like hypocrisy that I've been seeing is people that are they're saying like, oh, the power creep, and then saying TBC is not gonna power creep. But if you think about it, like you're literally increasing the level gap by 10, and you're making everybody who's lower level that much weaker. You know what I mean? Yeah, they're not end game level, but still you're creating an entire huge new sort of like threshold of power that can be attained. And you're also completely negating everything in the old game, where this could be completely different. I think it's a lot more of a viable concept than people are giving it credit for.
I'm not even gonna comment on the expansion being synonymous with a power creep. Like, yes, obviously the expansion is a power creep. Like, it's a completely different type of power creep, though. It's a power creep by definition because it's an expansion. That being said, I don't see how that's remotely comparable. And he does have another good point that I want to bring up here, where he talks about all of the content from the previous expansion being irrelevant. That is a problem in my mind. And I do think that Blizzard should have done something to where there wouldn't be this much of growth between one expansion and the next. So, for example, I think that Tier 3 should just be slightly better than or slightly worse than Tier 4, and Tier 6 should have been slightly worse than Tier 7. Tier 10 should have been slightly worse than Tier 11, and the gaps between the gear has just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, and I worry about that happening a lot, and that's basically what has happened. And I do think that they should make expansions like not a complete reset, but I can see why Blizzard does do that.
And so the main reason why I made this video is because I was watching this reaction video over here with Asmongold, and you guys all know who Mark Kern is. Mark Kern is, I love Mark Kern so damn much. This guy is a freaking gem. Like he's so smart too. Like just the way he expresses himself in general. I really like this guy. So he's been streaming on Twitch. And there was this Reddit post, going over some of the things that he was talking about. If you guys want to check out this video, it's Asmongold watches clips from Mark Kern, or just go on the Reddit and actually search it.
Oh, I know what he's going to talk
give
about.
Mark Kern the views on his actual Twitch videos, on his Twitch clips. But let's actually just watch it. Or watch this portion. So listen to this.
All right, WoW expansion progression.
Based on the principles of you always have to stay true to what made classic WoW.
Okay.
And if you do that, I think that's the way I'd like to see expansions done. And then there's precedence for this. I think RuneScape did something similar. Eventually they got their own content path, for the classic version of RuneScape. And that's what I'd like to see happen with WoW. If you just follow the expansion packs, you're going to end up right where you started. And based on the principles of you always have to stay true.
Wow. Wow. Holy shit. So that means that he actually wants more content after Naxx. I wonder if he's worried, though, about, like, I don't know, like, I'd be curious to hear what his response would be whenever I said, like, how I feel. I'm just worried about Blizzard messing it up. I wonder what he would say about that.
In the older versions of these games, might cause a little revival. Why not? Why not bring back MMOs with a little more challenge where you actually feel like you live in this world, that you're not just dashing through it? Incidentally, that's another reason why we didn't do Free Flight. Not only was it technically challenging, but we didn't want to ruin the sense of world. We thought that in EQ, when you started porting around with druids and stuff, that
this is
it was getting way too... It shrunk the world. It made it feel inconsequential, and you just blew through these zones, and you didn't have the sense of world. We wanted you to walk.
I'm gonna just go ahead and skip ahead here, okay,
to get
guys?
A feeling that you're actually in it.
Because he's
now,
just
maybe
watching
that's not
me
true
watch
anymore.
a clip. So we're gonna skip ahead a bit.
Maybe people just want instant gratification, but I like to think that there's still a lot of people.
They get into it. They're not invested.
My biggest grievance.
It's just like, okay, I did the thing that happened really fast, and now I'm done. So okay, that's nice.
So yeah, I mean, my biggest my biggest grievance with Asmongold, honestly.
Here we go.
I'm glad for him, and I have nothing against his popularity level, but he's not the voice of the classic community, and he's sort of taken that role. You know, like self anointed like king of classic is kind of what it feels like. But he hasn't played classic or TBC in like over 10 years. Like there's so many people that have played both of them. I just played Nostalrius, and then after Nostalrius shut down, I played Warmane, TBC. So I literally just played both of those expansions, and I've been playing them for the last 6 years. I know exactly where they stand, you know. And Asmongold is sort of
okay. So you spend all your time playing vanilla and TBC. I can see why you have a little bit more than I do hope and optimism about things going well. Because you didn't have to sit through Legendaries and Legion. You didn't have to sit through Titan Forging happening. You didn't have to see BFA ruin the game. You didn't have to see all of this stuff happen. My perspective is someone who's interfaced with Blizzard today. Not 10 years ago, not 15 years ago, but today. I've seen what's happened to the game. While you've been sitting and fucking and pissing around on private servers, I've been playing the actual game every day for 10 years. My skepticism is not unfounded. It is backed up by 10 years of bad decisions that cater to bad players.
He's played to level 30 in the beta, you know what I mean? And he's just got such a grasp over the community, and I don't think a lot of the times he knows what he's talking about. And that point,
like when, I can guarantee you, there's never going to be a point where he says he doesn't know what he's talking about, and here is an example.
That Mark Kern was talking about is huge. I mean, the portals in the Burning Crusade, that's one that I missed earlier. Like, just the fact that you're just jumping around everywhere all the time, that's another one. You know, that completely ruins the game. And there needs to be more talk about this. You know, I think it's going to happen organically, because once Naxx hits, you know, people are going to be like, okay, what now? And I think a lot of people, especially people who haven't played vanilla or TBC, or haven't played TBC in a long time and really want to go back to TBC, because there's that same element. There's a lot of people that didn't get to raid Sunwell, you know, and then Wrath of Lich King came out, and it's the same thing with Naxx, right? Where it's like, I didn't get to experience Sunwell. Naxx because TBC just came out and killed vanilla. But a really insightful point, which again is another thing that I've been thinking about, you know, pretty regularly about on this topic.
Come on, you can't say that your own points are insightful. I mean, what are you doing? Oh my god. So, like, all right, he's making the point that I'm making, is that a lot of people want to go back to TBC too. I mean, like, I don't understand how this is such a hard concept that re-releasing something that already has proven success is a better business decision than creating something new that has an unknown outcome. Like, how is this just make both? Well, great. And he's even saying what I'm saying here, that whenever Naxx comes out, then people might want this. And you know what? The only thing I'm saying is wait until Naxx comes out. Like, let's talk about it then.
That Mark Kern said in his video. He said, if we just re-release all the same expansions, we're just going to get back to where we were. You know what I mean? Like, if TBC gets released, then all the people who hate TBC or don't want to go down that path again and just want to play vanilla, then you just left all of those people behind.
No, because they can still play vanilla. Like, this isn't zero sum. If they don't want to play TBC, they can just play vanilla. I mean, like, who actually hated TBC? I feel like a lot of people didn't like TBC as much as vanilla. I personally thought vanilla was a superior game, but overall, I thought TBC was great.
You know, and then once Wrath of Lich King comes out, it's probably one of the more popular, if not the most popular expansion. Okay. But I don't really want to play it. I mean, I'll play it for a little bit, but I don't really care that much for it.
Same,
sitting
actually.
in Dalaran
Same.
all day and looking at the looking for group chat. It's super boring. I'm pretty much just gonna PvP all day in Wrath of the Lich King. It's the only thing that I have fun with.
I would agree with that.
I'd so much rather, just play vanilla, and maybe add like arenas, not rated.
Okay, just a minute. I've got to respond to something stupid in chat. Sorry. You said that TBC is superior to vanilla, hypocrite. I think the end game in TBC is superior to vanilla. The end game in games is not the way that games should be defined. I think that games should be defined by the entirety of the experience of playing it and not just the end game. The end game in TBC, in my opinion, is superior to the vanilla end game in multiple ways and reasons. That being said, I think the entirety of the game and the game experience in vanilla WoW is superior to TBC. If I could have to choose one or the other, I would rather play vanilla WoW.
Arenas, but just fun arenas to classic, just so people can mess around and do skirmishes, basically, like you were able to do in patch 2.0.1.
Okay.
Maybe bring in the Emerald Dream, expand on some of the stuff that I covered in my last video. Like, just make classic the best that it can be, and it's like endless. You know what I mean? Like, classic can be endless. They could milk it forever, and they don't have to relaunch a new game over and over again. They'll just add little patches to it. It's so much easier for them, I think. Well, that can be arguable, but maybe not. From a logistics perspective, the TBC would be another endeavor entirely. They'd have to, check every single quest and do a whole bunch of bugging, another beta, another this, another that. Where if they just add in content patches to Classic, I think that is more sustainable, and it won't fragment the community in the same way, and it won't bring us back to the excuse my language, but the shithole that we're in right now. I really think this is the best alternative. I think Classic Plus is the best alternative. And
okay, so I think that is kind of true in a way. Obviously that, yes, if they just keep re-releasing expansions over and over and over, but I think that really you have to sit back and look at what time frame are you looking at here? Are you talking about what is WoW going to be? Because in order for them to release the first two expansions, right? Burning Crusade and Wrath of the Lich King, I don't think anybody really cares about Cataclysm onward. There are some people that do, but I think the vast majority of people care about the original trilogy of the 3 games. After that, that's like 5 or 6 years from now. I'm going to be 35 fucking years old by then. I'm going to be bald. Like, I mean, I'm not even thinking about that. Like, if Blizzard wants to develop WoW past that point, I think, yeah, I mean, doing something and reforming Classic and doing something different with that, with an OSRS perspective, could work. Am I very, very skeptical about democracy? Yes, I am. Why am I skeptical about that? Because ask yourself a question. How many people would have voted for the Dungeon Finder before it came out in Wrath of the Lich King? I think it would have been about 85 to 90%. Most people would have. So yes, I'm very concerned about that because I think the player base in general trends towards convenience. And it's not something that's going to happen overnight. It's something that happens, it's like kind of, like how do you eat a horse or a whale? You eat them one bite at a time, one bite at a time, one bite at a time. So it's not like any one change made WoW terrible. It's just all of the little small changes that are made over time have diluted the sense of satisfaction and fulfillment that people get out of it. I've said this 100 times. So yes, I'm very concerned about the player base making these decisions, and I think that this person obviously comes from the private server community. And in the private server community, you basically only have, or you have people that are trending towards being more hardcore players because they're going out of their way to create and find the server, download it, and play it, and do all this other stuff. They're undoubtedly more invested players by definition, almost, because of the fact that they're going out and trying to download and find these servers. That being said, whenever you introduce the same game to a larger player base, what is the chances that that larger player base is going to have a different opinion on the different systems in the game and is actually going to look at the videos like the ones that people have made about, you know, top 10 changes that were made in vanilla or made after vanilla WoW that are good, like tracking mailboxes, for example. Tracking mailboxes does not do anything to harm the game, but it is a certain amount of continuity that is a little bit stupid to me. I don't think you should be able to track mailboxes. And it's all of these little tiny changes that happen over time, and then suddenly you have BFA. So yes, I'm very concerned about the Classic Plus approach. And I would be completely okay with them doing a Classic Plus approach. But I think they should focus on TBC first. I'm not even saying this is a bad idea, but I think TBC it's a sure shot. There's tons of people that want it, especially after they play vanilla. Everybody's going to want it. Like, I mean, no. Yeah, I feel like, I mean, do you guys really think that Blizzard is just going to come out with new classic WoW content and it's going to be great and it's not going to somehow fuck up the game? I mean, let's not be stupid here. Of course that's not going to happen. Something will go wrong, people will be alienated, and it's not going to work. I don't want either one. Yeah, I'm sorry to say, but just release the cut content? No, they should release the game that was a best-selling game that defined the entire genre, that was one of the best in-game experiences that WoW has ever had. I think they should re-release that, rather than trying to create some new thing that's somehow going to keep people invested. I mean, how can you be so stupid to think that they shouldn't re-release something that's a sure fucking thing? Of course they should.
And that's me being like, TBC is my favorite expansion. By
far
my favorite expansion. Like, it doesn't even compare. TBC is 100% my favorite expansion.
That's a good idea, Pogish.
But if there was a quote unquote expansion for Classic WoW, that would be my new favorite expansion. You know what I mean? So well,
wait a second. Let me listen to that again.
But if there was a quote unquote expansion for Classic WoW, that would be my new favorite expansion.
How do you know that? How like, I mean, am I taking crazy pills here, guys? Or am I the only person that's thinking that this is completely optimistic? How do you know that it would be good? Yeah, I mean, for a lot of people, Burning Crusade was their ideal expansion. That's so stupid to think.
You know what I mean? So I don't know. I really think there needs to be more talk about this, and I think there needs to be more pushback against Asmongold. I think it's happening naturally. You know, he's an open-minded guy, but he needs to be open-minded, and he needs to hear the other end, because it seems like he's already questioning his perspective when he hears someone like Mark Hearn uttering the things that Mark Hearn is saying. So, anyways, that's pretty.
I never questioned it at all. Like, I was always open to the idea. Like, I've always been open to the idea of doing this. Like, when have I not? If I'm not open-minded, why am I watching this person's video talking about how I'm a piece of shit on my stream? I've probably engaged too much with people that disagree with me. Like, most of the content of reading things, the most interesting content, in my opinion, is where there's a discourse. Because that's more interesting. Just reading somebody, watching it again, be like, true. Oh, yeah, Classic WoW really is going to bring back the sense of community. Yo, big true, boys. Can we get a true in chat? It's like, everybody knows that. Right? Yeah, of course. Like, what do you mean I don't interface? I'm not open-minded. Like, just because I don't agree with you doesn't make me not open-minded. It might just make me think differently, or it might make you wrong, right? Or at least in my mind, it's wrong. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't get how anybody can genuinely convince themselves that re-releasing or creating new classic content is a better idea than re-releasing Burning Crusade. Like, in any context. Like, unless you're talking about redesigning the entire game from the ground up. And I don't even think they should do that, personally. Like, I don't. Like, if Blizzard wants to redesign the entire MMO idea I think they should try to recreate the entire game, because it's in 2004. There are so many things that people are not going to like about it. They need to update it in some way. Like they need to make a WoW 2 instead of trying to recreate classic WoW content and hope that it's not shitty. You said you're open-minded. Well, I am, right? But I'm open to listening to other people's ideas, but it doesn't mean that I agree with them. Being open-minded doesn't mean that you agree with everyone. It means that you're willing to listen to other people's opinions and make a decision for yourself.
Pretty much all I wanted to say. Just like a little reaction, a little rebuttal to what I saw here. Yeah, just I'm really curious. Again, I do this every video recently, but I'm really curious what you guys have to say on this topic. Yeah, I really don't think there's an issue with horizontal gear scaling or slight gear scaling. I don't think power creep's a problem, and I think we can easily make Classic Plus content fully viable and retain that world, because that's really what it is. I don't want to sit in Shatrath all day, you know, taking flights to Blade's Edge and taking flights to Netherstorm, and that's pretty much the only exploring that I do. I want to play Classic. I want to get on the boat and take a boat to Menethil Harbor.
So he likes Classic better than Menethil Harbor, sorry, Menethil Harbor better than BFA, or BC. Like, that doesn't, like, how can you say that, oh, I want to be in Classic and have that be new, while you're talking about going somewhere that was made 15 years ago? I mean, I just, like, adding a new raid or something like that to Classic WoW isn't going to make the game, it's not going to revitalize the game. Like, even if they did that, it wouldn't revitalize the game. They need to, if they want to make and develop a new MMO, they have to do it from the ground up. They can't just keep trying to reskin Classic WoW.
And then fly to Tanarus, and then ride, you know, to the Caverns of Time, the new epic Caverns of Time dungeon, or, you know, go wherever, you know, go to Hyjal. You know, I want to retain that old world. I want Azeroth. I don't want Outlands. I really don't want it. Even with the updated gameplay and whatever, it's not worth, the payoff is not worth it at all. So anyways, yeah, that's the video. That's what I had to say. Probably missed some points because this is just kind of like a random ramble, but it is what it is. Anyways, leave a like, comment, subscribe. You guys know the drill, soldiers, and I'm out. Peace.
Okay. So here's basically the way that I feel, right? Is, don't understand a guy wants to do good stuff, just make it. I mean, well, here's the thing. Here's how I feel. I think they should make TBC content. They should prioritize that over making Classic Plus content. That's how I feel. And I don't think Classic Plus content is as much of a sure thing as BC is. I think BC is going to make a lot more people happy. Classic Plus content has the chance of hurting the game, whereas BC content does not, because it would probably be created on a separate server. And I just feel like it would be an overall safer bet for Blizzard to make, and it would just be common sense. Give me TBC. Yeah, I mean, like, let's be real. Dislike the video. I'm not going to dislike the video. Give me a fucking break. I think Asmongold wants 1.13 through us, Faith and Blizzard to deliver faithful. See, oh, wow, here we go. This is true. Good point. Let's see. Yeah, exactly. Misrepresenting his view, has been saying he doesn't trust Blizzard to make a good Classic Plus, but has shown some interest. Okay, so at least, all right, so people do understand what I'm saying. Okay, that's good. Poll TBC or Classic Plus. We already did that. Like, people voted, majority of people voted for Classic Plus, or sorry, for TBC.